So first, we'll get into what will probably be the last time for this summer kickoff times. The remaining 9 of them were announced, sort of. You really only got a few more because now we know 7 of them officially. First game, of course, is noon, and then ETSU and Georgia are both 3:30 kicks. But your week 4 kickoff against UAB, not a huge surprise here. This is at 12:45 in Neyland Stadium. And only 2 SEC games that week, which I found to be kind of fascinating. It's South Carolina and Missouri and Auburn and Oklahoma. But you do have some pretty intriguing non-conference matchups. Arkansas at Memphis for one, which is a game that you don't see super often. You got Tulane playing Ole Miss, which could get interesting. You never know. And then Florida playing at Miami on the back end of the home and home. So got some pretty good matchups over the course of that day. So, again, not a huge surprise that Tennessee is playing UAB at that time of day.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to games like UAB or like ETSU, I mean, I know ETSU is at 3:30 Eastern, but I usually go ahead and expect that it's going to be around like a noon kickoff game when Tennessee's playing their outer conference schedule, unless it's like a team like or not Oklahoma because they're in the SEC now, but like a bigger name school, like not in the group of 5. Like I've just come to expect it being at noon, to be honest.
Yeah, although sometimes they do shuffle those around a little bit, like the 3:30 and 4:15 kickoffs are not always your marquee games, just depending on what ESPN wants to do. But again, no real surprise that game is a 12:45 kick. The other kickoff times that we know for sure, we'll start with Kentucky. We don't know the definite time, but we know it's a night game, which means Tennessee has now played a night game up there every single time it's gone up there after the infamous Matt Rourke receiver playing quarterback game in 2011. And even before then, it was mostly a night game. Like I remember the 2 overtime games in 07 and 09 were both night games that Tennessee won up there. So that game is typically a night game. And again, not a huge surprise to see that one there. Just because it's become somewhat traditional at this point, I guess.
Yeah, and plus, like, I figure, like, with how much Kentucky hates Tennessee, they want to have like the best crowd atmosphere that they can, the best chance of winning. And I mean, more often than not, it seems like night games get people wild up quite a bit. So, not really surprised there either. But about these flex games, what does that necessarily mean? Like that they could happen during the day or night?
So you either have the afternoon kickoff, which is between like 3:30 and 4:30, or you have a night game, one of those two. And you're competing against other SEC games for that week. So like it's mainly dependent on how you do the week before. So let's say you go on the road and get a big win one week, and then you have a marquee opponent home the next week. Because you won last week, maybe the networks decide let's kick that game off between 6 and 8, and that, or 7 and 9, I guess, Eastern time. So that's kind of how that works. So we'll find out kind of as we go into the season where Tennessee will get some of those games, or all of those games, I should say. But yeah, this is I think one of the good things about ESPN getting these games is like you're able to plan in advance a little bit. Just seeing these kickoffs so far ahead, like you don't have to be at the stadium at whatever time in the morning because the game kicks off at noon. Those aren't being announced week of necessarily, unless of course you have a flex game. But even then, you're still not having to get up super early to go to those. And there are a handful of flex games on the schedule: Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Florida, Alabama. Am I missing anybody? I don't think so.
Did you say Oklahoma?
I did.
Yeah, I think you got everybody then.
Yeah. So those are all your flex games. And again, it's just dependent on who Tennessee is or what other games are expected to kick off at those times. And then we got a couple other definite kickoffs. The homecoming game, which is New Mexico State, that is a 4:15 p.m. kickoff time, which again, not overly surprising. That's a game that is if you're not going to put it at noon, you're going to put it at 4:15, especially if you've got good SEC games elsewhere. Just trying to take a look at the schedule for that week. You've got Mississippi State playing Missouri at night that week, which is kind of an odd matchup. Florida and Ole Miss, I guess, is one of your more marquee games. Arkansas and LSU playing in the noon to 1 p.m. Eastern time slot is very weird, especially with the game in Baton Rouge. I know Tennessee benefited from that a couple years ago. Who knows? Maybe Arkansas could do the same. And then your others in that flex window for the night games and afternoon would be Oklahoma and Alabama and Texas and Georgia. Mm-hmm. So Tennessee and New Mexico State, certainly not the best game of the week in the SEC in week 12, which is November 10th through 16th, which I guess is just November 15th because the SEC doesn't have any Thursday or Friday kickoffs outside of the first week and last week of the season.
Well, I'm definitely interested in seeing that rematch between Alabama and Oklahoma after what happened last year. I figured that's going to be a pretty good battle there. So I'm definitely going to
figure both teams will be better this year than last year, especially Oklahoma.
Because
you go ahead.
I was going to say Oklahoma's offense looks like it's going to be much better this year, and then on top of it, you get a second year from Ryan Williams, which I'm sure he's going to be just as good, if not better, this season. So I don't know. It's going to be an exciting game for sure.
Yeah, it should be. But you better find a way to get some more receivers in the mix because Ryan Williams being the only guy last year, I think was something that hurt Alabama's offense.
I agree. You can't have him running around the field the entire game just trying to get open. So Alabama's going to need a couple more pieces there. But looking at the schedule that we have on here, I'm kind of excited that the Florida game is flex because I think it'd be best case scenario if Tennessee does not play during the day, like hoping for a night game with Florida. I mean, I know
you're hoping for a night game.
I'm hoping for a night game because I feel like the heat in Florida is unbearable, and I've heard that the stadium is. I mean, I know it's a later game this season.
November 22nd. It's not going to be that unbearable.
Well, I don't know anything about Gainesville and its weather. Besides, I heard that it is extremely hot, or can be. So, any way to avoid that, I would be happy with for sure because I think it's hard to win in Gainesville.
Trust me, not playing a September game down there makes all the difference in the world with that heat. Looking in that week, that's your what the Big Ten folks like to call your Cupcake Saturday in the SEC. You got a couple predetermined kickoff times already, especially the ones that are out of conference. Mizzou and Oklahoma would be your noon game that week, which is kind of odd. That's an 11 a.m. kick out there in Norman. And we don't know how Mizzou is going to be this year, so maybe that's a part of it. The other game Tennessee is competing against for that flex start time, which is 3:30 to 4:30, or that's somewhere in that 6 to 8 window, would be Arkansas and Texas down there in Austin. So, well, again, it depends a lot on how both of these teams do, particularly Tennessee and Arkansas over the course of the season. But if one, I think, starts to flame out a little bit, then you'll see that get pushed up to the 3:30 start time, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't – I mean, if everything plans out the way that Tennessee fans and Florida fans would hope, I think that it would get a good time slot for the game, especially with how much these two teams hate each other.
And then the last start time that we have a definite idea of is the Vanderbilt game, final week of the season. That will kick off sometime between 3:30 and 4:30 Eastern time, which I think that is every year dating back to 2015 that game is kicked off in that window, in Neyland Stadium, at least. They've had a couple night games in Vanderbilt here and there, and then of course last year they had an early window game, but not a huge surprise to see it there, just because that's kind of where it's been traditionally. Um, and obviously rivalry weekend is fun and a little bittersweet too, because last weekend of the regular season, which is not, it's way more fun, objectively way more fun than the postseason in college football right now. But you got Clemson playing South Carolina at noon that day, which should be pretty fun if both Lenora Sellers and Cade Klubnik are healthy. A lot of the other kickoff times, though, are TBD right now. Don't know when Kentucky and Louisville is kicking off. Florida State, Florida is in the flex option, as is Alabama and Auburn, and LSU at Oklahoma. We know Mizzou and Arkansas is kicking off at night, which I got to be honest, it feels kind of weird that game is kicking off on a Saturday night, because it usually feels like Arkansas, because they did for a while against LSU. That last game of the season was typically in that Friday spot, because now they're kicking off the Egg Bowl on Friday at noon, which just feels blasphemous, honestly. I know Mississippi State is very good right now, but that just night.
Oh.
Do we lose signal there for a second?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, it went kind of blank there for a second.
Yeah, I'm working in some kind of well, we've got some electricity outside. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's been storming a lot recently.
Yes, Jordan unfortunately knows the storms too well. But what I was saying is that it's not overly surprising that they're putting that game in that window, because you got a chance for more interesting rivalry games along the line, and Vanderbilt is not one that Tennessee just has a huge hatred for, unless, of course, Tennessee loses that game, in which case it's very unfortunate for Tennessee fans.
Yeah, whenever Tennessee loses to Vanderbilt, they skyrocket up the list. I feel like for a lot of people of teams that Tennessee fans hate. Those 2010 games were probably peak hatred for Vanderbilt for me. But yeah, not too surprising on the game time. Hopefully it won't be too cold during that time, because I know in years past some of these Tennessee Vandy games have been pretty chilly, and I know, like, I think it was 2019 or something like that. There was like rain going on the entire time, and it was kind of cold. And then the game that I went to where Dobbs like fumbled the football and stuff, that was pretty cold as well. So hopefully the weather will be nice then, because no one likes freezing at a football game unless you're a Packers fan.
Yeah, they embrace it up there, as they do at most of those Big Ten schools.